I think part of it was a train. You know, at the time, if you go back to '63, one of the most popular things were people going and watching westerns. And so the idea that here in Britain we could actually have a train robbery, I mean, they only missed out by not having horses, but they pulled it off. And, you know, within a couple of days it had been given the nickname of the Great Train Robbery. And ever since, it's never been out of the news. The staggering fact, though, is that Scotland Yard didn't recognise there was a robbery until 7 hours after the robbery. They got their lines crossed and thought Cheddington Station had been robbed. And they thought, well, it can't have very much money. It's a small local station. So they didn't react for 7 hours until somebody said, no, it's the train that's been robbed and the money's gone. And then the hunt was on. But it was to go on for many, many years because what was also very interesting is that the authorities, because it became such a big crime, and became popular. People, they quickly, because the government was so unpopular, were on the side of the robbers. And there were lots of jokes in pubs. If you gave in a fiver, everyone would say, oh, what is that from the Great Train Robbery? And so the government really wanted to pretend that they were getting control of the situation. So in fact, when they went to court, they hardly had any of the senior robbers. They had Gordon Goody, who was probably the most senior, with Charlie Wilson and Roger, but they didn't have Buster Edwards at the time they went to trial. They didn't have Bruce Reynolds. They didn't have Jimmy White, which were all key players in it. And then, of course, when they're still thinking they're just about to capture them, then Charlie Wilson goes over the wall from Winsome Green in Birmingham, and about a month later, Ronnie goes over the wall. So, you know, it gave them more people to chase, and it did very much become a media event. And part of that was that because there was no proper numbering of the notes and things, everybody was being treated suspiciously. So if anybody, especially in the south, so around London and the south, if somebody spent too much, they were being questioned, which of course again put the public on the side, but they were being treated like criminals. So then they sort of went, yeah, good on them. And I think the other thing was, it was money from the banks. It wasn't somebody's personal wealth that got robbed. Today's equivalent would be if somebody hacked in and stole the entire payroll of the House of Commons. You know, I reckon the public would say, good on them. You know, that's really quite funny. And so although it is, I mean, it is a crime and people did get hurt, you know, it was something that could capture the imagination of the public, and that's given its longevity that it keeps going.